Again, this is Alex with MasterChartsTrading.com, and this is market recap for Friday, August 3rd, 2018. So first of all, please do hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. The subscription button is somewhere below. A couple of questions from subscribers. When is the market overbought or oversold? Okay, we will look at that. Big one, are there trends? And how do you determine a trend? So we'll look at two of those questions, and hopefully we will even answer a question once you have determined if we have trends, where do we exit and enter? And we will look at a bunch of examples and see if they make any sense. And again, if it don't make any sense, please make a comment or send me a message. So we'll then go into normal recap, utilities, staples approaching breakout levels, real estate already at fresh highs. This is generally bullish for the stock markets in the United States, but not in Europe or emerging markets, and we'll look at China as an example. So bonds, maybe they are making a lower low, higher low. It's possible. Forex, oil, natural gas, crypto review, maybe moving to the paid section of my website, so please do sign up at MasterChartsTrading.com. Right now, you can still get in under low prices, but we will look to increase the prices later on. So we'll look at also gold, oil, and cryptocurrencies once we get to them. All right, so first of all, I wanted to address the fact, address the trends issue. If we even have trends, and if we do have trends, how do we define trends? So let's look at S&P 500 recently, 2018, basically chart of 2018. And notice that this chart is just basically a bunch of squiggly lines, and to me it's really difficult to read it without my some sort of a reference point. And I created those reference points for me. They work quite well. These are my indicators. Again, I created them. I'm sharing these indicators with my subscribers at MasterChartsTrading.com on TradingView, so I can share them with you. Here is the takeaway that I'm looking at this chart. And so number one, how do we define a trend? And the way I define a trend is quite simple. I am looking at a close for stocks. I'm looking at a close above the blue indicator line, and then I'm looking for not a close below this yellow indicator line. So in other words, once we have closed above the blue indicator line, we have not yet closed below this yellow line. That means we're in a bull market. This is pretty much it for the stocks. So the trends are, I think, pretty self-evident. How do we mathematically define them is a completely different story. And you can see here that the trend is clearly up because we're making fresh highs and fresh lows, fresh highs, fresh lows. So every time even a remotely slightly lower low is made, the buyers step in and once again buy the security. So the question is, are there trends? In my opinion, there is no doubt about it, I guess. The trends are pretty self-evident, and the way I define a trend is by use of my indicators. And again, you have access to them if you're a subscriber. And this is basically how I look at it. I look at the close above the blue line and not yet close below the yellow indicator line. Okay, so next question is, tell me, Alex, when is the market overbought or oversold? I used to use indicators to figure that out, and then I swore off those various indicators and I no longer use them. So here are a couple of indicators that are very commonly used. Stochastic, and I didn't even change any settings, that's just a normal settings. And then there's also MACD, moving average conversion divergence, convergence divergence. So there are multiple ways to use these indicators, but here's the simplest one, and simply looking for oversold conditions. For example, here's an oversold condition in February, here's an oversold condition in March, and here's an oversold condition just recently in June. That's one way of trading, and a successful trading system can be devised. Whether or not you will be psychologically prepared and are you able to control your risk is an entirely different conversation. Generally speaking, you can devise a workable trading system with you know, just out the box stochastic or MACD. So here, you know, let's say we're looking at stochastic, and let's say we don't have my indicators. So number one, we need to determine a trend. And how do we determine a trend? Is this a bullish security or a bearish security? Are we going to be buying or selling? Or are we going to be doing both? We're going to be buying when the condition is oversold. We're going to be selling when the condition becomes overbought. So here, if we go back a little bit, you can see that overbought can remain for prolonged periods of times, and it pretty much is a meaningless concept. You can see that overbought was, you know, basically from October or August of last year to January of this year. There was non-stop fresh highs that are being made. And these indicators would probably be useless because they will be showing overbought conditions, and what are you going to be doing? You're going to be selling it here. I don't know. What are you going to be doing? Shorting it here? So basically I'm avoiding to use the overbought, oversold concepts altogether and simply ignore the fact that the market is considered to be overbought or considered to be oversold. We simply need to look at price action, and the price action is pretty unequivocally bullish because we're approaching fresh highs here, S&P 500 for example. So let's go ahead and start on the actual presentation, and I think hopefully I answered these two questions, the overbought versus oversold. What are actually three questions. What are trends and how do you determine a trend? So again, oversold, overbought is relatively meaningless. The way I determine a trend is using my own indicator from MasterCharts Trading. I look for a condition of close above the blue line and not yet close below this yellow line. Here is a trend change, for example, XAU USD, a recent trend change to down. Well, let me pick a. Well, yeah, we can use a commodity. For commodities, I prefer to use this red line as an indicator of change to the downside, of the trend to the downside. For stocks, I prefer to use the yellow line. That means I'm giving stocks the benefit of a doubt. I'm giving bulls the benefit of a doubt. Alright, so let's continue to the normal presentation. Alright, let's start with the presentation. Today it's S&P 500 is approaching fresh highs. QQQ recently made a fresh high on the 25th of July, pulled back. IWM, the Russell 2000 small caps, recently made a fresh high. In other words, we're trading next to all-time highs. So overall, I think it's a bullish picture still for the United States stocks. Let's look at some of the sectors. Utilities, for example, quite interesting action in utilities, XLU. Approaching the breakout level at 53.53, this looks quite promising. Let's look at the actual underlying Dow Jones utility average. Quite interesting action as well. So once again, I'm not making this up. The lines are being calculated, and here is that attempted breakout that so far hasn't succeeded, but it looks very good, honestly. It looks like it's poised to go higher. So if it fails here, this could be like a bad sign, really. But it could also break out higher. So utilities, yeah, maybe we're approaching the breakout level. So here are the XLU, very close. RYU, the equal weight utilities seem to have already broken out even earlier. So my best way to look at this is to look at DJU, Dow Jones Industrial, rather utility average, and it sure as heck looks like it wants to go higher from here. Real estate, another interest rate sensitive sector, actually made a fresh high. This is a fresh high, IYR, and there is a recent alert from the 5th of June for my subscribers, and beautiful move here. So real estate and utilities are moving higher, which is a bit of a defensive tilt. The other one I wanted to touch upon is the XLP, also known as staples. So here the XLP. Also kind of approaching those breakout levels. Sure as heck looks like it wants to go higher. I want to make sure that it doesn't do something of this nature. Here is an example of what sometimes happens. This is a preferred stocks portfolio. Notice where the resistance came in, exactly at the blue indicator line. And now I see further selling for the security. And this is where I like to short myself at the on break below the red line, basically. We'll see. We'll see. Now the indicators are curving down, so again the price will have easier time traveling towards bullish levels now. So maybe we need to watch for a fresh attempt by the security to push higher. And that's why I'm not really rushing into new positions. I mean, there's going to be plenty of time once the breakout occurs. Usually it goes something like this. Let me show like IYR. This goes like this. Usually there's a breakout, a push higher, and quite often there is a drop afterwards towards the blue line. So you have several opportunities here to buy at the breakout levels at excellent prices. So if you bought, let's say, just did a limit buy, you can already have around 4.3% on the security IYR. And their leverage is available for this security. Alright, so let's look at also some of the European and emerging market stocks. VGK is my European proxy for the markets. So far I'm thinking that I should be avoiding it as early as 25th of June here. I would start basically looking to exit my positions, and if I had like a position, then I would look to unload it around on the bounce to the red line, which sometimes never happens. Sometimes it just pushes lower. So in fact, let me show you exactly what happened here, and this is China. So this is China. ASHR is the ticker symbol. Notice where the shorts came in, right around the yellow indicator line. So aggressive shorts were rewarded. Me personally, I'm not that aggressive. I used to be quite aggressive trader. I think as you get older, you get more conservative in various things, but definitely in money. So I'm looking for bigger pullbacks before I initiate new shorts or new longs. But here the aggressives just killed this fund, ASHR. Let's say you shorted it on breakdown. There's a nice 6% well, gain because you shorted it, or a loss if you still have it open. So notice that there's that breakdown on the 19th right there of June. This is definitely a bearish break right there on the 19th of June. Not even a bounce, immediate selling, big immediate selling. Now a shallow bounce to the aggressive short levels, and now a push lower. Again, these indicators can be had at MasterChartsTrading.com. Here's FXI, China, large cap index, and similar picture basically. There, I would have shorted it on the 30th of August, right there, for, you know, a few percentage gain. But again, I'm not an aggressive trader, and I'm also trying to avoid shorting equity as much as possible. It's just my thing. Once, or you know, if S&P 500 flips into a bear market, then we can, you know, really start shorting. But yeah, so overall, Europe, VGK under pressure. Still would avoid it for now. China, obviously, I just showed. I would avoid it for foreseeable future, unless we see a big push towards above the blue line. Emerging markets, diversified emerging markets, EM. Here is that label I put there a few weeks ago. So again, here's the avoid levels on the 27th of June. A bounce, a sizable bounce, and I thought we were going to actually go, possibly that's how far we might even go. See, like previous strong resistance. You can see a strong resistance here. A continuous long period of time where price did not change. So I would say that that's pretty strong resistance, and I think we might still get up a little bit higher. But again, I would consider shorting there around 45.80 or so. Maybe buy puts or sell calls, maybe, if you can afford it. Alright, so overall stocks are bullish, but I would still continue avoiding Europe and emerging markets. So let's continue to bonds. Here are the treasuries, 20+ year treasuries. Generally speaking, this is the most important chart from the bonds universe. Possibly junk bonds are also quite important, but some people like to pay attention to IEF, which is a 10-year treasury yield, treasury bond fund. Me personally, I just like TLT. I think it's more tradable because of the volatility of it. So recently, I actually sent an alert to my subscribers. So this is a recent alert. TBT was sent at 36.35 here, and yeah, you got a nice gain there. So you definitely already are making good money there. Question remains, is this move going to continue lower? And I am having more and more doubts about it. So here are my concerns. So here on this chart, notice that the fresh low has not yet been made. There is a low, now not yet a fresh low. And if it bottoms here, this could be a bullish sign. Let's look at some of the other lower grade corporate bonds than versus treasuries. So this one, notice that a low was made in May, but a new low, let me see, I don't think it was made here. Low 113.75 and here 113.72. Yes, so no low was made, no fresh low was made for LQD here, which is a possibility of a bottoming action. IEF, yeah, same thing, no fresh low yet. And finally, I wanted to show this this instrument. It's called BUND, which is a Euro bond. You can trade it in Europe or other non-United States places. You can trade it. So here what I see is a possible breakout on the 27th of June. And usually bonds around the world, especially in the developed nations, they kind of move together. So I wonder if Eurobond is leading the market higher. So we will see. For now, our trade is working in our favor, which is a good news. What's going to happen in the future is always difficult to say, but there's a possibility that bonds are indeed bottoming. Alright, let's continue to the various commodities, Forex, and basically Forex and commodities, I guess, and cryptocurrencies also at the end. So overall, I wanted to say that maybe this is going to be moving to a paid subscription service, starting from this point on. Basically, the Forex, gold, oil, natural gas, and crypto evaluation, crypto ideas, crypto trading ideas. So this could be moving to a paid subscriber base. If you have not yet signed up, sign up for VIP membership, which is an interest list that is forming on MasterChartsTrading.com. So DXY dollar index. This is a bullish chart that is attempting to break out. Now, this area here around 95 and change, it seems like there was attempts to go higher, multiple attempts, and so far all of them have failed. So I wonder if there is resistance up here, or maybe we're about to break out of this resistance. So let's look at individual Forex instruments. So here's Euro versus US dollar. I am projecting, thinking that we're gonna move still lower, possibly to this area of decent support around 1.13683. So this would imply from today's levels excuse me, another 200 pip move to the downside. Right, let's look at British pound, GBP USD. So overall bearish chart. There's the breakdown on the 29th of May. I would have shorted it probably here on the 14th of June for a nice move lower. US dollar versus Japanese yen. I actually opened the position here. I'll need to write it up more, but I opened it here on the 22nd, I believe, put my stop below the red line, but I put it as a close below the red line. I was rewarded waiting through this drawdown, and I sold all of my position with around 170 pip gain or so on average. Alright, US dollar, Canadian dollar. Could be approaching a good place to look for a buying opportunity around the blue line. If you need the indicators, find out more about them at MasterChartsTrading.com. US dollar versus let me see, Canadian dollar, Mexican peso briefly. Strange action here. Looks like Mexican peso is winning currently. Possibly a breakout here. Even if we look at the futures, Mexican peso futures, there could be a breakout. The weird part is this is one of the only currencies that are breaking out against the US dollar. So I'm not exactly sure what is going on there. Perhaps the US dollar is going to pull back and, you know, completely unravel. What's more likely is euro will drop even further, and that would most likely imply that the British pound, the US dollar versus Swiss franc, so most or rather all of the major currencies will likely lose versus the dollar. In a medium to longer term. Short term, again, maybe we see a pullback to like 93 or so, 92.5, and then a push higher. So overall, forex action seems to be favoring dollar bulls. Okay, dollar is gaining, gold is losing. Makes perfect sense. XAU over USD. US dollar is getting stronger, so the lower part of this equation is getting stronger and it's pulling the security lower. The opposite would be true if gold strengthened, by extension dollar weakened. So currently unequivocally bearish posture on gold. Here are the gold futures, GC1 exclamation point. This one hasn't made a fresh low yet. There's the bearish break down on the 26th of June 2018. I'm gonna make it purple right there. And I would have shorted it basically on a bounce to 1270 if it even will materialize. But here you can see the short sellers were rewarded, the aggressive short sellers were rewarded immediately almost. This is also an opportunity to sell or to short. Me personally, I prefer on close below the my indicator line. So here on close below the yellow line, yeah, you see a move lower. It is an aggressive one. I like more of a deeper pullbacks before I initiate open new longs or new shorts. So gold miners, GDX, big move down. So far, don't see a bottom, and I think we're gonna continue lower from here. Alright, I'll continue to oil. Here's US oil. I think it's approaching good levels to look for a buying opportunity. I would say 64 bucks would be a decent price to look for a buying opportunity, but we need to see a bottom in action. It's not always possible, but bottoming action of some sort needs to happen, so let's wait until that rolls around. Natural gas, here are the natural gas futures. I personally shorted natural gas via options on UNG, made decent money here. Notice the price action is bottoming exactly at the yellow indicator line, and now again approaching this red indicator line. So I would be looking to sell it again, possibly. Yeah, let's look for a shorting opportunity for natural gas. Alright, continue to the cryptocurrency overview. Bitcoin versus US dollar. Bearish security from the lows in June. We had a move higher towards aggressive short levels around 81.22 for the Bitcoin. Again, I'm not an aggressive trader, but if I was shorting it, I would have shorted it there on the 26th of July on breakdown below the yellow line. And obviously already you would have made nice money here. This is already, you know, 13, almost 14% move. And it seems to want to continue lower. Again, this is a bearish security, therefore it should be shorted. Ethereum, same basic concept. I personally prefer to short on breakdowns. Short on breakdown, stop is well above the price action. Short on breakdown, there's a 36% gain. Here are the aggressive short levels. You can see short on breakdown, short, also rewarded, but my personal preference again is a pullback towards the red indicator lines. LTC, Litecoin versus US dollar, basic same concept, same premise. Short on breakdown, there's a latest one around over 50% gain in our favor. So if you have any questions, send me a question at MasterChartsTrading.com or on TradingView here at MasterCharts. US versus US dollar. Also, even a recent opportunity right there on the 18th. It looks like we touched the indicator line and then closed below it, so that's fair game right there on the 18th of July, and it already made a nice move there. Alright, so overall, if you have any questions, head over to MasterCharts Trading. Again, some of this most likely will go towards a subscription service. So currently the Forex and the commodities, that I just covered in the public YouTube video, but we may relocate them towards the paying service. Again, the paying service is relatively inexpensive for the nice moves that you're getting. Here's a British pound versus US dollars. I'm sorry, GBP USD, and I wanted to show a tremendous move on British pound caught by the indicators. Very easy. This is a daily chart, so you have plenty of opportunity to enter at your leisure, really. But for example, here's a nice move on the 6th of October 2017. You can see an indicator touch here at the blue line. Basically, if we open around there, well, if we open exactly at the blue line, we can have as much as 1300 pip gain, but let's just say that we opened next morning, for example, at open, so that's still 1224 pips move. Again, this will depend on your psychology of trading, it is very difficult sometimes to hold through such an enormous move in your favor, and you really want to, get the all of the move. But so that's about 40% of the success, I would say, is psychology of trading. Another 50% of success, I would say, is simply money management. And money management is basically a question is how many shares are you going to buy? So how many for a quantity, for example, here is a quantity for a $10,000 account, that would be the quantity. How many units you can buy. So overall, very easy to trade with my indicators. So head over please to MasterCharts Trading and sign up there. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching and have another great trading week. Bye bye.